The Jazz have secured the best record in the NBA at a record of 52 and 20. They'll have home court advantage throughout the playoffs. If they can win, they'll win at home. The Western Conference play-in tournament will begin tonight as the Lakers host the Warriors and the Grizzlies host the Spurs. The loser of the Lakers versus Warriors will host the winner of the Grizzlies Spurs. They will play for the final playoff spot, which will have them taking on the Utah Jazz. All right, it is time for Wired Wednesday, and MJ is here with us. Ms. Hanson, how are you doing this morning?
So good. How are you, Dr. T?
You know, I'm having a pretty decent day here.
Good. It's Wednesday. We have gotten through this week, and I can't believe how quickly, as we're doing weekly shows and as we're getting more and more guests and more information out there to to the community in the surrounding area, it's amazing how fast my weeks have gone. It seems like just last week we had, I can't even think of our last guest, as silly as that sounds.
No, it's not silly at all.
And so now today...
Who are you again?
Oh. Right, no, seriously. But we have such good communication out there and such good guests, week to week. I'm always preparing for the next show. I'm always, lining out different sponsors and different guest hosts and things. And so, it's the point of the show is to provide more and more communication out there and more good information.
And good information is good to have. And first of all, anyone that shows up with honey is already high on my
I know.
list.
I am so excited to try my new Lovell. Welcome to Wednesday.
It's almost over.
God. It is. Barely. I am so excited to try this new
Lovell
Bee Farm honey. Oh my gosh, Kim, I am so sorry.
You're alright.
Every show we've had with you, I am stumbling on my words, so I apologize.
You're good.
Good morning, it's McKenna Hansen with Wired Wednesday. Today in studio we have Kim Lovell Bee Farm.
Think of the guy that went
Oh my gosh.
To the moon.
What was
To the
it?
moon, to the
Yeah,
anything
Frank.
other than I cannot talk today.
Wasn't
Kim-
Frank Lovell?
No, yeah, that guy.
Right. No, you're good. So,
Jim.
Yep.
Jim Lovell.
Yep.
Okay, Lovell.
So we have Kim.
Yes, Kim.
Okay.
Kim with his bee farm. and
Lovell
his-
Bee Farm. I'm
Yes.
going to help you on that, okay?
Oh man, I think I'm trying to talk.
Now,
Talk too fast.
I have to ask, Kim, real quick, sporting that, do you also do a UDOT thing?
Yeah, so I work for UDOT full time and then run bees on the side.
Really?
Yep.
So what do you do for UDOT, if I could ask?
So I work in a maintenance shed out of Parowan and then construction during the summer.
Oh, really?
And so yeah, that amazing roundabout going in Enoch. It's right now. That's where I'm going to spend my summer.
It'll be
Well, we're not going there.
so good when it's
It'll be
done,
nice.
right?
Yep.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody loves roundabouts.
Yes. Well, Kim, with the season, when we first had you on the show in earlier this year, you were getting ready to get the bees ready for California for the almond season.
Yep.
Have we gone through the almond season? Tell us where you're
Yeah,
at. What's some
almonds
updates?
are done. We're back home. They did really good this year. We definitely need some rain though. Right now is the love-hate relationship with bees. Super busy. So I shipped about 200 hives to California, and so now I brought them home. They're so big. Now you're into splitting, making more hives. So that's where you're taking one hive into two, into four, depending on their size. That's when you're ordering your new queens. Making new hives. It's your swarm season's
Hold on.
going on right now.
Hold on.
Yep.
Order your new queens.
Yep. So it's like we
What, you
talked
go
about
like
last
to
time.
Amazon or what?
Yeah, there's guys they produce. That's all they do is produce queens, and so I'll order from them. The guy I order from, he has 2,000 new queens a day, and then they put them in the mail. They mail them to you.
Okay, if I was your mailman, I would never come to your house.
That's the very
Right?
first thing in the morning. You usually get a phone call from the UPS of get over here.
Oh man, so you have to go pick it up. You have
Yeah,
to go
sometimes
pick
they'll
it
drop
up.
them off. UPS is way good. They sell them up pretty good, and UPS has been good to us just to drop them off. They
See,
know what they are.
And I gotta tell
Oh
you,
my gosh.
if I'm that queen and they put me in a box and throw me around in the mail, I'm pissed.
Yeah,
I'm
there's
just madder than mad.
they're stressed by the time. So we got just shy of 300 queens the other day, and so it's 2 boxes. They're in these little teeny tiny wood cages, and then you have attendants that feed them while they're in their transportation. And then, so usually the day before I get the queens, I'll go through all my hives, I'll knock them down, I'll make them queenless, and you leave them that way for 24 hours. You'll get your new queen, you'll put her in there, and then you leave her in that cage for 3 days, and then you go back in, you release her, and hopefully the hive will accept her, and then you'll have a whole new hive, and you just start the whole year over again.
They have to accept the queen.
Yep. Yeah.
The complexity of bees is astonishing to me because I just thought they were bees.
Yeah, and it's crazy because a queen can cost, I mean, you can find some guys $25 a queen up to, I got a buddy that does breeder queens, they paid $6,000 for a queen. And so it's just,
$6K?
yeah,
Wow.
there's just
And remind me
different-
how long queens last.
So queens, they can last a couple years, but most of the time a hive will change them every year. You usually go in, it's the older they get, the less they lay. It's disease will start coming in, and so you want a young, vibrant queen, and so you usually go in and really take her out of the hive and put a new queen in there, so that you just always have a good genetics going.
It's incredible to me, all
Yeah.
the different details.
Because if you don't, everybody's seen the balls of bees on their house or their trees or on cars. If you don't do anything, that's how bees end up in people's houses. And that is if you just let bees be bees, I guess, they'll naturally split themselves. They'll just
Really?
outgrow themselves. That's how they reproduce. Is they'll start a new queen themselves. And so depending on
How does that happen?
So what they do is they'll go in, and the queen really doesn't make decisions. It's a hive as a whole. And the hive as a whole is starting to grow in the spring. It's starting to get big, and it knows it's going to get too big for itself. And so they'll go through and they'll pick a larva and they'll start feeding it a certain diet, royal jelly and that. And instead of just selling it off, capping it off flat, they'll bring it out like a peanut, and it'll go down, and then she'll hatch after a few days. And then that new queen, the old queen, she'll take 80% of that hive and just fly off. And then that new queen will take over the original hive.
So have you ever seen that kind of migration where?
Oh yeah, it's fascinating. It is, to me, I walk into a yard, if I see it, I instantly go, there's $200 just flying away. You don't want to see it. It's because I don't want bees getting into people's homes. I don't want them in their sheds. And so I want to stay on top of my bees. You do have it happen every once in a while. And so if you see a ball of bees, just call a beekeeper. Post it. Usually there's people out there that want them. And don't spray them. People will go over and spray them, and then they'll call us, and it's like by then they're already dead. Or they'll hose them with a hose or soap or
that's
something.
not usually a good idea.
Yeah, no, just leave them alone. Get a hold of somebody, and they'll come gather them up, because what's nice is, for the most part, a swarm, they're pretty docile. They won't do a lot. And so as a beekeeper, you just show up, you'll knock them in the hive, and they'll just walk in. If the queen ends up inside that new box, they'll just all of a sudden just turn around, and they're like, she's there, and they'll just start walking into the hive, and then you got a new hive, and you move it to where you want it to, and
You
start
actually
working.
can herd bees.
So it's a scent.
Wow.
Is wherever that queen is. If you ever seen people will have, like, I will never do this, but they'll have bee beards. They'll put the queen on the edge of their mouth, and then the bees will come to their face. They're after that
What?
scent.
That's a
and
thing?
yeah, I'm not doing it.
I'm gonna have to Google this.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's some pretty interesting people out there.
Oh my.
But yeah, you're just making new hives, and yeah, dealing with spring. It's praying we get water. It's feeding lots of sugar right now. You want your bees to grow and be healthy.
And sugar is what they love.
Yep.
Sugar.
Yeah, 1 pound of sugar to 1 pound of water. And
For a hive or for.
that's how you mix it. And so I have 2-gallon feeders in every one of my hives. And so, like last week, how would I go through 80 25-pound bags of sugar?
Wow.
And I've done that twice already in the last 2 months, just because we haven't had a good spring. And so you want your bees to grow.
Right,
you want them to be
nothing's in
healthy.
blossom yet. There's limited.
Yeah, it's just so dry. Like your dandelions were so fast. Your apple trees really didn't do it. They were so fast. You didn't have a good long wet spring that we normally get. And then it heated up and cooled down. It's just vice versa. It's Utah.
Yeah.
And
I feel like this last spring has been more Mother Nature and almost menopause for the
yes.
hot and cold,
Yes.
dramatic, like the dramatic seasons that we've had. Usually
Yep.
we're like a little bit of ebb and flow, but like almost snowing degrees,
Yep.
30, 25, 30 degrees. I feel like that was last week. and then
And
up
we'll
to
be
80.
again this week.
Right,
Yeah.
right, exactly.
Yeah, they're
You know.
looking at lower 30s Friday night. So
Yeah, yeah.
So let me ask you a question, because this is bottled raw honey. What's the distinction of that? And does that mean I have to do something to this before I can spit on a piece of bread?
Nope. So raw to store bought. So if you'll see raw honey, most of the time it'll set up, it'll crystallize.
Okay.
It's not cooked. If you heat honey to a certain degree, it kills all the good stuff in enzymes, and then pretty much you might as well just be drinking sugar water. Everything what you take for your allergies or just the good stuff in honey is gone. That's why you don't throw it in the microwave. If it does crystallize on you, you just boil some water and then turn the boiler off, put the honey in there, and it'll go back. Where the store, us as consumers, we don't want to do more than we actually have to, and so they've cooked it. And
Which means the good stuff is gone.
the good stuff's gone, and so it'll never go back to a crystallized state. And you might as well just have your sugar water then.
So its uncrystallized shelf life is longer, even though crystallization isn't bad.
So raw honey will never go bad. It's raw
But
honey.
could this crystallize on it?
This will
Yeah.
crystallize.
This
Within
will
a couple
crystallize.
days, the raw honey, this stuff will set up on you.
So in other words,
Yeah.
if I want to have it, eat it fast.
Yeah, if I like crystallized honey.
Oh, do you really?
Yep. I like, because it's not messy. I can just put my spoon in there, scoop it out like ice cream, and just eat it. And so I like my raw
Sorry
honey.
about that.
And
We might have to try this.
so they have like whipped honey, creamed honey. It's kind of the same thing. You take a percentage of whipped honey, put it in your runny honey, mix it together, and the crystals will start changing to the other honey, and it'll be like butter, and it won't harden up.
Honey like butter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of stuff
Tim,
you can do with honey.
you have no idea what you're.
He's killing us.
No,
That's what he's
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need a loaf of bread. Great Harvest is just down the road.
I know. I'm thinking about going to the factory.
Oh, man.
I need to go get some probably bagels today. That's one of my favorite things to have.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh my.
Honey
You're
on
making
Tim,
me
what do
hungry.
you do? So I'm a tea drinker.
Mhm.
I love my teas. I
Yep.
love all of the different types of teas.
Mhm.
But one of my favorites is a berry blend, of different raw leaves and whatnot, hanging out on the patio with a good honey.
Mhm.
Just sweet enough to take off the
Yep.
edge, but not like drinking, soda pop or anything. But it's one of my favorite things. So I'm going to consume this honey
Yeah.
very rapidly.
We have
with my
a
tea.
lot of people get it for their tea. Yep.
Now you mentioned all the good stuff that's not in some of the processed honey. What is the good stuff, and what are the benefits of
Just enzymes. I mean, ours is unfiltered, and so you're getting a little bit of the pollen. Every once in a while, you might get a bee leg in there. We try to let. So the way we extract honey. Now she's looking. the way
I'm very
we
curious.
the way we extract our honey is you go out, you pull it out of the hive, and you just extract it. You don't introduce too much heat to it. You want a little bit to it to keep it runny. And so we try to keep everything right around 100 degrees. Whatever our temperature is here is where we keep our honey at. And so we'll usually bottle it, we'll put it in a tank, and then we'll let it sit for a while, and all your wax and that will float to the top, and then you bottle what's in the bottom of it. And that's what ends up in the bottle. And so you're gonna end up with a little bit of pollen and stuff like that. So we extract in September. So I started throwing honey boxes on last week. And so anything from last week till the first week of September is how we gather.
And then what about during after the harvest for
Yep.
lack of a better word? Then how do you deal with the bees through the winter? Because it's not their favorite time of year.
No, well, it's not too bad. Our weather here isn't bad. They do pretty good here during the winter.
Really?
Yep. My last saving grace is rabbit brush. Rabbit brush is amazing for bees, and so as soon as I pull off in September, that's theirs. And so that you want hundreds of pounds inside that hive to get them through the winter. It's because that's what they're living off of. They're clustering up. They're staying warm. They've got now to where up in Manti, you can actually take your bees up there and put them inside buildings during the winter.
Serious?
Yep. And so Canada does that a lot. They go up there, they take their hives out of the snow, and they'll put them inside buildings. They keep them at a certain temperature. They keep the oxygen and that in there. But if you keep them in the dark and you keep it at below a certain temperature, the bees will just cluster up. They'll keep it 95 degrees inside that little ball, and they'll just move from frame to frame, living off that honey that they've stored for themselves throughout the winter. And
So there's dry storage for
Yep.
honey, for bees.
Yep, the potato farms up in Idaho store them, I mean, there's thousands and thousands of hives that get put away during the winter, and that's actually really good because.
So, are you practicing a little bee cruelty by leaving them outside all winter?
No,
How dare you?
Yeah, that's well, some people would say.
Oh no, I'm just teasing you.
No, you're good. But no, here I don't mind. I can keep feeding my bees. Our temperature gets up high enough during the winter that if they need to be fed, I can feed them. I can get them through, and then that's when January I'm going to St. George. Where this year they got more snow than we did.
Yeah.
It seemed like I took my bees down there, and it was like, oh, you're gonna heat up here, and then we're gonna make it snow down there, and so it's different.
What is the typical life of? I mean, you said the queens can live for a couple years.
Yep,
What about the other?
So a regular bee will only live about 6 weeks, and that depends on its environment. It's like we were talking in the hallway. You get it like right now. You get into pesticides and things like that. People are out spraying their fruit trees, their apple trees.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
And
What does that look like?
So it's like people will go out, say your fruit tree's in bloom. They'll go out and they're like, oh, I got to deal with my worms. They'll spray their tree. Well, one thing to always remember is labels the law. You need to follow whatever the label's telling you to do, because a bee's going to come in and gather that up. Well, if it gathers up that pesticide and goes back to the hive, you just cut it 6 weeks down. And so
Like days.
yeah, every bee has a job, and its job is only so many days long. And so if you cut the forage life of a bee down, it's going to cut back on the forage life of the hive. And so it's not going to be able to grow and do what it needs to.
Right.
And pesticides are okay. You just need to do whatever the label law tells you to do.
Well, and I was always taught it's not. I mean, if I'm going to spray for worms or bugs or those things on my fruit trees,
Yep.
you have to wait till the fruit's almost there,
Yeah,
and it's not there in the bloom.
yeah. Some people just they think they have it, and so they go spray it. Or they'll go out and they'll spray their yards, and just always remember, whatever's in bloom, a bee's got to touch. There's some type of pollinator that has to trip that flower, and if you put something on that tree or on that fruit, you're gonna cut the pollinator's life down.
And do they infect the rest of the hive?
Yep, they can. So what they'll do is, especially on a bigger project, if you go and you have an orchard and you spray it all, and that whole hive is eating off that orchard, it takes all that pollen back, and then
The poisoned pollen.
the poison pollen, and then they'll start feeding their larvae that pollen, and it kills.
Bad, yeah.
Yep, it just turns around and kills the hive. And there's sometimes I'm lucky that the farmers that I put my bees on, they're really good about letting us know. It's important that we register our hives. It's through the state. It's only like $5, and for the most part, you'll get a phone call like, hey, we're gonna be spraying in the area when everybody's there. And for me, I'm lucky. My farmers drench in their pivots. They put it right into their pivot, and I haven't seen a lot of death from spray or anything like that. My farmers are way good about it.
That's so good, Kim. We are at the end of our show, and I hate
It goes
it
quick
because it goes so quick, and we get
does.
such good information out there. Kim, how do we get a hold of you if we do see swarms, or if we have any questions regarding hive keeping
Well,
or
let's get
honey?
right to the basic. And how do we get your honey? That's the basic.
Yes.
So-
How do we get your honey?
So my wife's the one you definitely want to call for it, but I'm more than willing to help somebody with their bees, and so just give me a call at 435-383-3436. I would rather help somebody and help them deal with their mites than have them lose their hive.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kim, today.
I have to tell you, how would you deal with someone like me? Because I've said this on the air, I have this almost deathly fear of bees.
Mm-hmm.
And to talk about some of the things that you've been visiting I just can't even picture me even trying to attempt it, because I'd be frozen in fear, really.
Yeah. My wife's allergic to bees. I've loaded her in the ambulance before, and so for her, I make sure that I don't take my bees around my house. She hears bee noises, and you can tell she's tensing it up.
Oh my.
And so if you're nervous around them, just don't go around them. And if you see them, just don't agitate them.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Kim,
Yep.
today. You are our
Anytime.
resident expert on beekeeping. This has been McKenna Hansen with Wired Wednesday. My number is 435-592-2021. I'm here with Farm Bureau Financial Services, serving Southern Utah.
And
Thank
we'll
you.
keep it a secret from Chris, who didn't show up, that we got honey today. Right?
Yeah,
Yes.
extra.
And if Chris is listening, the honey's missing
Yeah,
already.
yeah. He only bought one bottle, Chris. I'm really
He didn't
sorry.
bring bacon,
Yes,
so
no,
no honey.
and, right. It's an
Yeah,
even trade.
that's right.
Thank you so much, Dr. T.
MJ, have a great week, okay?
Okay.